I'm back from vacation and shaking off the rust with a review of AK Interactive's Trainspotting, a book dedicated to weathering model trains, coming up on JC's Riptrack. Hi there, my name is John and welcome to JC's Riptrack. If this is your first time here and you're looking for advice and tips on how to transform your plastic models into something that looks like it belongs on the rails today, click on subscribe and that little bell icon so you can be notified every time there's a new video. So what resources or books for weathering have you found helpful in your work? Let me know in the comments section down below. Several weeks ago, I reviewed a new book dedicated to weathering model trains. It was one of two books that I had picked up, and it had the benefit of arriving on my doorstep first. This one can be considered a rival work, although in reality, Trainspotting, edited and compiled by Oscar Eby from AK Interactive, has been in print for approximately 3 years. So I'm reviewing the older book second, only because of when it arrived. The growth of printed weathering books over the past number of years has spilled over into model railroading with some great resources. As I mentioned in the previous review, one of the first live streams that I held on this channel back in December highlighted some of the books that I've used in my library as resources for weathering. The advent of weathering resource books for model railroading over the past few years are a way to show how weathering from other genres is now being felt in the world of model railroading. At 208 pages, this is an extensive work with 16 start-to-finish model examples of different European cars, locomotives, plus a bonus of 20 pages featuring 2 North American locomotives and 7 cars, as well as a 282 Mikado steam locomotive that saw service in the Spanish National Rail. Since this book originated in Spain, it is no surprise that European models are the focus, but it does make a good effort to include models and examples from North America and beyond. Also, approximately 20 pages is dedicated to the process of weathering and painting scenery pieces, whether it's track, structures, or smaller accent pieces. As much as I have focused on weathering locomotives and rail cars on this channel, it has an excellent section on painting and weathering track that is definitely worthwhile to check out, especially if you're looking at giving a highly realistic look to the foreground tracks in your layout. The book also has plenty of real-world examples, with the last 20 pages filled with photos and all kinds of examples of locomotives and cars that are still in service and yet look positively decrepit. Some of these are locomotives that once saw service in North America and now find new, albeit rusted life on various roads in Africa. There is a prototype for everything, including stuff that I would consider overweathered. One of my favorite features of this book is its introduction. Before getting into the individual examples, the first 40 pages is dedicated to the process and techniques of weathering, including paint and materials, a guide that talks about the different ones available, what to look for, and the advantages of each. And while it does show and talk about different brands and their relative strengths, this is of course an AK Interactive publication, so their products are featured prominently throughout the book. The process of weathering is slightly different than what I described in my original Where Do I Start video, and it does go into a lot more detail on why each step happens where it does. This is one of the places where the printed word outshines video. Print can give a lot of explanation without getting bogged down like video can. This is why I think there's room for both print resources and video resources like this channel. So here's a few reasons why this book is also a very welcome part of my resource library and why it deserves a spot on yours. First, as I mentioned earlier, the first 40 pages of the book is an introduction and demonstration of techniques. It uses 3 different rail cars to explain the process of weathering and shows a couple of different techniques to achieve it on each of the example models. The techniques shown on each of the models form a basis for the rest of the book. The foundation techniques followed by specific examples, which brings me to my second point. Each of the model examples provided show how a particular technique is used to achieve a look on a given model. And while it will show the techniques for the whole model, there's one particular feature that is highlighted. For example, an HO scale BNSF GE-8 40CW in the Warbonic scheme serves as a great demonstration of simulating photo degradation and how the artist achieved a realistic faded paint. The author describes the whole process in some detail, but the article places a greater emphasis on that faded look. Third, since I personally model North American roads, the inclusion of numerous pieces more directly shows how techniques on a European, African, or Asian roads are transferable to the workhorses of the New World. Regardless of what they look like, materials weather the same if the climate conditions are similar. A railroad that operates in North Africa may bear similar wear and tear on locomotives that have spent a lot of time in the deserts of Arizona or the Australian outback. Any cars that passes through urban areas where graffiti is a problem will likely bear those tags, whether it is in Eastern Europe or in Vancouver. On the front cover, there's a little note that says, "Take your trains to a higher level of realism. Learn from the best modelers and all their secrets, the definitive guide for painting your locomotives and wagons." This is showing what I hope to be a trend, where the modeling techniques are increasingly shared across different modeling genres. Railroads as a medium for exploring realism in scale is experiencing a renaissance of sort in the wider modeling world. The fact that this book's concept and content is approved by Markland, the world's largest model railroad company, shows how the hobby has been evolving, particularly in places other than North America. The fact that companies normally associated with military, aircraft, or even science fiction modeling are now producing resources for model railroading shows the cross potential in the genre of the art form. So this is the second book review of newer weathering resources for model trains. And there's a real temptation to do a comparison and contrast, but I need to let each book stand on its own merits. For me, really, the conclusion is easy. Get both. I think they're both must-haves as a resource on your bookshelf. And the greater the resources that we have available to us, the bigger our own library of techniques gets, and the better our models will look. So if you want more tips on how to get the most out of your painting and weathering projects, don't forget to hit subscribe and that little bell icon so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Also, if you haven't already, check out the other videos on this channel, as well as some of the social media links down below. Also, go check out my Patreon page and you can get involved in the creative process for this channel. You can also get a link for this particular book in the links down below. So thanks so much for watching, good luck, and may you keep on track.